Next, we're going to move into our superintendent's report. Superintendent, are you ready? Yet our technology is not engaging. The mic. Borrow Cindy's. Cindy's, can you that one over there, please? They'll stretch a little. There you go. You have it in what's on the agenda here, the artwork and.
Right, we'll start with employee recognition. Good morning, board members. So great to be with you in person. Good to see everybody. We've got a full house today. It feels almost like normal, whatever that is anymore. I am excited to introduce our Employee of the Month to you, Nicole Ferguson. Nicole, go ahead and have a seat up here while we brag on her. This is another fun thing to be back in person. Nicole is one of those amazing employees behind the scenes that you don't often see. She is one of our UPAC attorneys and often works behind the scenes, but you see her work every month when you review the UPAC cases. And Nicole had one of her colleagues recommend her for Employee of the Month, and we really concur with everything that is on this paper of recommendation. But the things that the nominator talked about for Nicole was her thoroughness, just the way that she prepares and really thoughtfully asks the questions is so transparent and clear about what she does and doesn't know through the investigations that she brings forward. Really works to make sure that she has heard all voices in her investigations and is very thorough and very kind to her colleagues and very collaborative. And Nicole is very fun to be around. How old are your twins now, Nicole? Nicole, when she carried her twin, I just remember her working up to the very last minute. And we kind of missed them growing up during the pandemic. But Nicole has been an outstanding employee, and we are so thrilled to be able to honor her in her work as a UPAC investigator and attorney. So congratulations, Nicole. And next we have Kathy Jensen with this wonderful artwork.
Thank you so much, Kathy Jensen, the Fine Arts Education Specialist. I'm so honored to be here as the Education Specialist for the Arts and an advocate for learning in and through the arts as part of the mission of Portrait of a Graduate. On the west and back walls, you have some digital representations of art that was done, especially on the west wall from Enoch Elementary. If you look closely at those descriptions, you can see how the art is teaching the art core concepts as well as integrating with other content. And then on the back wall, we have some patriotic, both representations of some 3D and some 2D art, again, made by students in the Beverly Taylor Sorensen Arts Learning Program. Today, it is my honor and privilege to present to you the Utah State Board of Education 50th Annual Utah All-State High School Art Show purchases. Each of you got a catalog of many of the exhibitions from this year's exhibition at the Springville Museum of Art that is part of our professional outreach program in the schools, POPs. So this high school art show is also sponsored by the legislature through the Utah State Board of Education and the POPs program. We had 3 board members who visited the museum before its opening, before the show was open, and they selected 4 pieces that are on the east wall for purchase, and all 4 students are either here virtually by video or in person to talk to you about their work and to formally present their work to you. So we will go in this order: Tucker Dengen, then we will have a Zoom with Natalie Harris, then Aleka Lewis, and Elisa Luthi by video. So I will turn the time to the students.
Hang on.
Point of order?
Yes.
Thanks, Chair. Can you tell us where these students are from, so we don't have to check through the catalog right now?
Yes.
Do you know?
Or they-
I
Or
do
maybe they
know.
could tell us, so-
I would like the students to
Oh, it's
talk
a video,
about their
okay.
school and who their teacher is, and then talk about their work. So yes, I have that.
I
back.
can look it up, too. Okay.
No, you won't need to. We'll be able to get it to you, okay? Thank you. So, starting with Tucker.
Welcome, Tucker.
Okay, good morning, board. I just want to start by saying thank you. It's such an honor to be here, and it's such an honor to have this privilege. To those that helped make the choice and help make decision to purchase my piece, it's such an honor, and it really means a lot to me. I'm Tucker Dingan. I'm from Payson, Utah. I'm actually born in a little offset of Payson, Utah called Spring Lake, and I've lived there my whole life. And I've been going to American Leadership Academy, where Mr. Hegseth has been my teacher since 8th grade, and he's helped me on my art journey and to develop my skills. This piece, mine is the second from the left in the black frame. That is me as a freshman. I took that photo myself, and originally it was just, you gotta make a self-portrait at some point. And I'm like, yeah, so I wanted to kind of put a little more meaning into it, and rather than just paint a picture of myself, I wanted to actually make something that was kind of meaningful. So I kind of thought, how could I kind of represent me at that time? And at that time, I really struggled a lot, I guess. Not really struggled, but I wrestled with the idea of my future and where my career would take me and if I became a professional artist or whatever my career is, where that would take me and kind of where my efforts would go if I tried doing that. So yeah, so that's what I tried to represent. And my idea in my brain, I guess, was if I could make it to the big city and I could make a lot of money in the big city, that was the vision in my brain for some reason. So in the reflection, I have a scene of the Tokyo street and just people walking around, and the piece itself, the title of the piece is called Shiten, which is Japanese for points of view. And I decided on that name because I figured kind of the meaning behind it. Before I get into the artist statement, the meaning behind it generally is meant to represent being somewhere and needing to be somewhere else, or to be someone else that you've never been before, and kind of that it's supposed to represent that need for something that is unfamiliar, and it's not just you need it. It's the fact that it is unfamiliar is what makes it meaningful, I guess. Anyways, this is a statement. Where does it start? Okay. Let's see. Okay. People who grew up with black and white television have been reported to experience dreams in black and white. These same people might have been against a new and evolving future. Their world has changed enough. Nevertheless, it keeps changing for everyone. Everyone's world is unique. Understanding is freedom. You are set free when you look into the worlds of others, when you look past your own points of view. So, yeah. My teacher is Mr. Hegseth. He is the Lovely Santa Claus looking man over there. Yeah. Thank you.
Zoom?
Zoom? Is that the next one? Natalie, is that who you're going with next? Natalie, are you with us, or they,
Yeah, hi.
there you are.
Can you see me okay? Can you hear me?
Yes. We see you
Okay.
and we hear you. You're live.
Sweet. Thank you so much for letting me come and Zoom. My name is Natalie Harris. I live in Layton, and I'm a junior from Northridge High School, and my teacher is Mrs. McDonald, and she's amazing. But this year I'm in an AP art class, and the painting that I did, it's the really big 4 foot by 4 foot painting I saw on one of the walls, but it's called Individually Alike, and it's just of the two girls laying next to each other. And this painting I created, well, some fun facts. It's the biggest piece of art that I've ever done. It's 48 inches by 48 inches, and it also has taken me the longest of anything I've ever done. It took about 40-ish hours. And it's also one of the first pieces that I've ever done with acrylic paint. I am more of a colored pencil artist, and so this is one of the first times that I've ever used acrylic paint seriously. But for the AP art class that I'm in this year, all of us students kind of get to choose our own investigation. So the sustained investigation that I chose to work on this year was how I can portray the natural beauty of real teenagers that I know through a series of realistic symbolic portraits. So this piece is just one piece. I've created a whole bunch of others for this class, but all of these pieces focus on how I can portray basically my friends and how I can make them feel beautiful and how I can help them see that. So for all of my pieces that I created, I took my own reference photos, and all of these are people that I know. So the two girls in this painting are actually both girls that go to my school, and they don't know each other very well. And I know one of them, but not really the other one. And so I think that's just kind of symbolic of how we're all beautiful and how we don't need to really prove that. And so I just want to read the artist's statement for this piece. It kind of describes what it's about. I said, I created this piece to express how natural beauty brings all individuals, especially teenage girls, together. The two ladies in this piece are different in many ways, but the bright expressions and wide smiles they share remind us of how much we all have in common. To emphasize their natural beauty, I refrained from artistically altering many parts of the artwork, choosing instead to keep most aspects of the painting realistic. Beginning with an underpainting, then blocking in values, and finally adding detail allowed me to practice my acrylic skill and highlight unique facial features. My teacher has been really amazing helping me throughout this process. Like I said, I only ever really used pencil, and she came up to me halfway through the year with this huge canvas, and she said, hey, me and Mr. Guyman want you to use this. And I was terrified. I was like, I've never done anything like this before. I don't even really paint. But she encouraged me and she helped me. She taught me some techniques, and I am just really grateful to her for that, because if she wouldn't have forced me to use this enormous canvas, then I never would have had this opportunity. And I just am thankful to all of you guys for appreciating my work so much. So thank you.
Is her teacher.
Aleka Lewis.
Hi, good morning. Can everyone hear me? Okay, my name is Aleka Lewis. I go to Western High School, and my teacher, her name is Miss Robin Briggs. She's a wonderful teacher. She's been doing this for a long time, and I just want to thank her for this opportunity that she pushed me to send my artwork into the museum. If you look over here onto this wall, my artwork is to the second to the right. It's the one with the black kid on the floor with red and blue lights right behind him. And the title of my picture is called Warning Lights, and the statement is, red and blue lights flicker across my windshield. The colors serve as a warning light, reminding me of preparation and instructions I've been told to follow. Hands on the wheel, make sure they are visible enough. I was simply speeding. No, stop. Don't worry about defending yourself, just simply nod. Keep your hands on the wheel. Ask for permission to get your registration. I was just simply speeding, but it has never been simple for me. And I just remember taking this photo in class as an assignment, just working on seconds. I forgot what it's called, but I just remember taking it, and after a couple of weeks, I was asked by my teacher to submit a photo into the Springfield Art Museum showcase. And this was the very first photo that came to my mind, and my teacher, she didn't see the significance about it first, but I told her, if you look at Zachariah's skin color and the red and blue lights, you'll think of a person of color getting arrested because that's what you see or hear on the news. Others who have looked at it before never saw the profound meaning of what this photo was. Each photo has its own interpretation, and everyone has their own perspective. I got to talk with Senator Thatcher, and when I talked to him, the first time he looked at this photo, he thought it was just someone just modeling, at a club, thinking it was a little cool photo. But his intern, Isaac, who is a person of color, saw it, and as he looked at the red and blue lights, it kind of jogged his memory. And just looking at the red and blue lights, he thought of the police. And I just thought it was really cool that a person with my own color, could also see what I saw as well. And each and every one of us has our own perspective of how we view things, but the little details is what can change it all. Thank you.
By Elisa. While that's coming up, I'll just say that the board members that participated in the
Can you use the mic?
Reds and
Yeah, thank you.
blues, and I
Sorry.
put
Uh,
them in blocks,
there we
so
go.
it looked kind of distorted and a little bit different. And then there at the very end, I used a palette knife to create the fun texture in like the background and on the sleeve and in some other areas. But it was a really fun project, and I'm glad you guys liked it. Thank you.
Should we try that one more time?
Melissa Luthi, and I painted a rift in reality. My artist statement says, in this painting, I tried to capture both realistic elements and a distortion to reality. It portrays a state between real life and what goes on in your mind. So this painting is a self-portrait, and I made it through doing many layers. The first couple layers were more realistic, and I just tried to copy what I saw in the picture, and then later I tried to add more blocks of color, and so I came in with more vibrant like reds and blues, and I tried to add them in blocks so it looked kind of distorted and a little bit different. And then there at the very end, I used a palette knife to create the fun texture in like the background and on the sleeve and in some other areas. But it was a really fun project, and I'm glad you guys liked it. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you to board members Lear, Booth, and Davis for their participation in the selection.
Okay. Vice Chair Belknap?
Kathy, do we have any parents here with these young people today or not? Is that a parent? Oh, so we want to applaud parents.
Thank you. I'm cutting into the superintendent's report here a little bit, but it's always a fun time of year, and the invitation goes out to board members, and I've been able to participate with it in the past, and there is a lot of fun art. So next time it comes around, even if you're not part of the committee, it's fun to see it live. It's great to have the book, but it's 10 times better to be there and walk amongst all of the wonderful paintings and talent that we have in our great state. So I bet you're really enjoying this, or look forward to it every year. It's fun and exciting. So thank you for your work there. And thank you, board members, for making this happen. Thanks. Member Booth?
I just wanted to thank the students, and you see their work in this wonderful book, but Chair Huntsman is right. Being there in person is absolutely phenomenal. And to be there without the show actually on the walls, to be able to just walk around and see just the pieces of art, the variety, the incredible artistic capabilities of these young people, it's mind-boggling. And I was privileged to be there the morning that they gave the awards to all of the students at the museum, and to see them with their parents, with their teachers, to know that it is such a collaborative effort. Certainly the students have the talent, but they are, as many have expressed today, they are following their dreams because of an excellent teacher who pushes them and encourages them to step outside of their comfort zone to explore new possibilities. And then, of course, at home, those parents who are constantly so interested in seeing their son or daughter really explore who they really are. One quick little story. A mother of one of the artists that we have here on the wall said, now, she was very interested in how long will they be here on the wall, what happens to the piece of art. So in maybe about 10 years, could I buy it back from the board? Because she just wasn't sure she wanted, even though she was honored, she didn't want to let it go because it's something that she treasures as she treasures that son who created it. So I'm so excited that we are able to be a part and enjoy and encourage the marvelous work of these incredible students. Thank you.
Superintendent?
Thank you. Well, that's a hard act to follow. This is one of my favorite months of the year for many reasons. I love spring, but at board meeting, I love the presentation of the student art. And sometimes there may or may not have been battles behind the scenes about where the pieces go and land, because we all love to be surrounded by this beautiful and amazing student art. We also have a lot of artists amongst our USBE staff. And Dr. Norman, it's fun to see the paintings that she switches out sometimes when she's on a Zoom meeting from her home, because she is actually an artist, and we have a lot of artists on our staff. And so maybe, Kathy Jensen, I'm just shouting out that maybe we should have a staff art show or art presentation one of these months, as well as student art. So for my remarks today, the backdrop for me is just about the hope of spring and the beauty that spring brings. And I love seeing kids in spring, just sort of the joy and the renewal. And of course, many of them are on spring break, and our teachers are as well. So it's just fun to see the energy in our schools this time of year. Dr. Norman and I had the opportunity to visit oops, I'm not sure what happened there. We had the opportunity to visit the Catalyst Center in Davis District. And this is a new school that just opened in January. What I appreciate about it, however, is that they hired all of the personnel early on, and so they gave teachers the gift, which shouldn't even be a gift, it should be a way of being, but they gave them the gift of time, and they really spent a great deal of time preparing for the students to be there and preparing for this school to be a success when it opened. And they weren't sure if they would have students ready to go in January, but I think they already have waiting lists. And so this center is based on the very characteristics of Portrait of a Graduate. In fact, that was one of the first things that Director Brian Hunt talked to us about. He said, we see things like all of the life skills that you have in Portrait of a Graduate, such as problem solving, creative thinking, collaboration, all of those characteristics we work on here at the Catalyst Center, because it's preparing kids for life. So these are really preparing them for jobs, but also preparing them for skills that transcend any current job or future job that they might have. So you can see that they have the following pathways they plan to build out, but all of these pathways and courses are up and running and fully actualized. We were able to step into each one of these pathway courses and to see how they are working directly with partners from industry to engage in authentic work. So for example, in the business marketing and entrepreneurship, the day that we were there, they had just worked with a client. They were working with two clients. One in particular was a franchise of a fast food restaurant, and the students were creating a marketing campaign for this particular franchisee. And I will just tell an anecdote. I won't rat out the company because it's a great company, but the person was interacting with them, trying to connect with them through using teenage voice. And the students said to us, we're professionals. They don't have to talk down to us. And I love that. So students really see themselves in that role as working side by side with the businesses and industry as in a professional project. So we were able to, again, just meet with the staff and the students. And it was just an amazing place to be. And I encourage you to visit if you have the chance. Really seeing the characteristics that we're supporting in Portrait Graduate really being played out in the space of career and technical education, which I heard recently from a school who said we think of career and technical education as general education because that's where they're getting the hands-on lifelong skills. I love that. The next thing I want to talk about are internal controls. We take these very seriously. We work on internal controls. I feel confident on the internal controls we have in place, but we're always trying to improve. So we've been working with Leadership Council on standard operating procedures, and you've heard me talk about desk manuals and the different things that we're doing to make sure that we have succession planning and clarity in all of our roles. So Assistant Superintendent Leah Voorhees was able to provide training for Leadership Council on the way that they use standard operating procedures. She shared templates, and we found that many of our sections have their own standard operating procedure templates, but we're also trying to adopt a standardized template so that people don't have to create their own, and we'll be bringing that to Leadership Council in May. We also heard stories about people collaborating together, going cross sectors in the agency to create a single standard operating procedure that, again, crossed all different sectors of the agency and just made sense on one particular procedure. So they weren't all creating their own. And we also talked about the fact that maybe this is something that could be used in the Utah performance management when people are setting their goals, whether it's co-creating an SOP or working towards a standard operating procedure and improving in that area. David Soleil is also providing business rules training. And when I first came to the agency and was over in licensing and they were talking about business rules, I had no idea what they were talking about. I thought, how many rules do we have? But there is a language to it, and it really provides the backdrop for how we create policy and law, and even in the technology space, you have to have business rules. And then I also want to celebrate an internal control in our minimum school programs. We have a single audit that we talked to you about, and I know in the audit committee they hear a lot about the single audits. It's a big audit that we look to each year, but we had no findings. Now, we don't have a lot of findings when we have audits anyway, but sometimes there are one or two, and this is a really big deal since the minimum school program is the bulk of our funding that we push out to our LEAs, and to have no audit findings was a big win in the single audit. So I wanted to celebrate all of those who work on this. And then I want to also talk about our AP results. We'll be bringing those to the Standards and Assessment Committee, I believe, next month. There's a full report that you can look at that's been released now. But just a few bullet points. These have been sent out to the public by Mark Peterson. But I think it's interesting, as I've been listening to colleagues from across the country, how the pandemic has impacted assessment in many ways, and especially AP exams. I talked to somebody from the College Board recently who indicated that students have worked very hard for AP exams. They take the courses, and it is one area that even through the pandemic, students were taking the APs, but their confidence waned, and so there were many who took the class but just chose not to take the test. So you can see in Utah, our class of 2021, took 39,500 AP exams, and a qualifying score to get credit is a 345. And so they earned those about 68% of the time. And this tied us with Pennsylvania for the 5th highest passing rate in the nation. And you can see that South Dakota, New Hampshire, New Jersey, and Connecticut did a little bit better than we did, but still in the 68th percentile. I think we were, I may have rounded up, I think we were at 67.7. So the total students who took an exam, I think, is really important as well. That we had 44,660 students who actually took an AP exam, and of those, of the class that took those, you can see that they did well enough to earn college credit. And there's also a savings metric to this that we'll share in the final report. But that's a big savings for families when students pass an AP exam in a way that gives them college credit. So I'm really proud of our students for leaning in a very difficult time last year and taking so many exams and getting credit for those exams. I want to end with the term coherence. You know, coming out of this session was not unlike the way I feel in other sessions where we are tracking, I don't know, Angie will tell you the specific number, but like 125 bills, education bills, 148. 128, thank you, Angie. 128, and felt like 148. And 80 of those passed that we'll be talking to you about here shortly. But I'm often struck by the lack of coherence in our system. And I think that's where our teachers and our families and people can tend to feel so burdened, just not understanding how everything is connected. It can just feel like so many different piecemeal things. So we're working on coherence as a staff and trying to see how our policies and some of the legislative programs, where's the coherence and how does it make a difference for our students in the end? Also, when we think about our future priorities, Chair Huntsman's always good to help remind us to immediately reflect on what went well and what we can work on for the future. And, you know, I really took that to heart this year and started thinking about what can we do differently. And for me, it was thinking about, instead of going year to year and having these yearly conversations about where we're headed, that as a board, it provides us with an opportunity to think about what does this particular program need to look like in 5 years. So whether it's Beverly Taylor Sorensen Arts or dual language immersion or our literacy or mathematics, it doesn't matter what we're looking at as an agency. We feel it's really important to think about a five-year plan or a 10-year plan. 5 years seems a little bit more doable that you can hang on to and project funding. But I think I would encourage us as a board to be prepared going into the next session, and not just for the legislative session, but for us as a system and for the public to have some great coherence by really mapping out where do we want our students to be and what will it take to get there and where's the coherence in what we're trying to do rather than just approaching it year to year to year. So I end with that comment as you lead into your decisions today, that as we strive together to try and be more coherent in the policies and programs that we support on behalf of our students and families. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Dixon. Board members, we're going to, by popular demand here on a couple of communications, we're going to take a 10-minute break. Well, a 12-minute break, and we're going to start promptly at 25 till, and we'll go right to our consent calendar. So, little pause for a minute. Thank you.